Well, it's fabulous to be in Mexico City, and it's fabulous to be in the Cineteca. And the exhibition is this is the 16th time that we've put this exhibition on. And it's lovely because Mexico has given it its own twist and its own special flavor. So it's fabulous. Everything that is in the exhibition was somewhere in our house, stored in garages and in cellars and labeled and, you know, meticulously stored. Wherever we moved, everything came with us, all the files, all the research, everything. So, I mean, we didn't have the costumes. The costumes were obviously in a costume warehouse somewhere. But it is completely appropriate that all this material is being seen and isn't just in the cellar at home. So it's wonderful that film students and film scholars and lovers of Stanley's movies and people who haven't discovered his films yet get a chance to see it. Well, I think I have to say that I'm in the Cineteca Nacional, so this is my favorite exhibition so far. I haven't been to all of them. I wasn't in Toronto and Sao Paulo, but naturally every single space and every curator curator, and dare I say every nationality, and their sympathy towards the films and their emotional response to the films gives the exhibition a different and specific flavor to that country and that museum and that curator. Given that the elements are the same, if you have a large space, then everything else gets to be included, but sometimes if you have a small space, then some things have to be excluded, so that you just have the quintessential elements of what makes each film speak to the audience. But I can't possibly give you a favorite because they're all unique in their own way. Furthermore, even though I've seen the exhibition probably 12 times now, every time I come, I see something I didn't see before. So even to me, it's unique. And also the stuff that was stored, I didn't always get to see it. I mean, you know, it was at our house, but it was in a box, so I didn't see it. So it's always fresh to me. When I was growing up and we were a child, we moved around a lot, and I went to 13 schools, and every time we moved country with a different film. So that was my childhood. But then we moved to Ireland to work on Barry Lyndon, and I was this 18-year-old, basically with nothing to do, and he had already taught me how to take photographs, and he said, right, you've got a job, here's a camera, here's the script, go and look for film locations. And it was during that time, also working for Ken Adam, that made me decide that working in the art department was what I wanted to do. So subsequently, I worked on Barry Lyndon looking for locations. I then worked on The Shining, looking for locations and buying props and going to setting up second unit in Anchorage for Renaud's Garage. I looked for locations also on Full Metal Jacket. And then on Eyes Wide Shut, I looked for some props and lamps and things. And then my son was one of Dr. Bill's patients because, one day my eldest son, who was 13 at the time, had a bicycling accident. And he wasn't wearing his helmet, and he had horrible scabs all the way down his right arm. And we went to visit my parents with my son, and Daddy took one look at Jack and said, "Oh, you'd make a great patient for Dr. Bill," right? So Alex was all excited, but by the time he got around to shooting it, he was healed. But he was excited, and he thought that he was going to do this thing, so I picked Alexander up from school, and we went to Pinewood Studios, and there I am, and it became a Glands thing, and I'm at the back, you know, being mum. So it was always a family, you know, lots of family were always involved. Famously, my youngest sister was Squirt in 2001. Jan Harlan's eldest son was the video operator on Full Metal Jacket, and also he was the stills photographer on Full Metal Jacket also. So, you know, wherever there was family involved, could be involved, we were. I mean, half the furniture, paintings on Eyes Wide Shut was from our house. There was nothing to sit on for months, you know. So yeah, it was a family business. I think he was a student of film. He watched everything. And obviously he was a huge fan of Bergman and Buñuel and Kurosawa and Tarkovsky and Kurosawa and all those people and he was a huge fan and he watched everything. I saw if there was something on television and I'd say, oh, should I watch that? And he said, oh yeah, it's a really good movie. You should watch that. It's a great film. So, and we would watch films on weekends all the time. So he would get prints from Wardour Street and we would sit and we would have to rerun the reels because we had projectors. And but if he didn't like the first reel, we never got to see the rest of the movie. You know, and we would be sitting around. Does anybody want to watch this? You know, okay, let's watch the next one. So I couldn't possibly tell you which was his absolute favorite film. I think somewhere here in the exhibition there's a fan letter that he wrote to Bergman, but I don't know. Well, being, you know, his family, and he was an artist. If he'd been a great composer or a great painter or a great writer, you know, he was a great artist of film. And so we want more and more people to see his work and to keep it going and to keep introducing people who maybe didn't know about it. So you just carry on the legacy. How can you not be proud of somebody who was one of the greatest exponents of the art of film in the last century? Given that some of the films are really old now, the fact that people still want to see them and are still touched by them, and young filmmakers are still influenced by his photography and his use of music and how he composed shots and his use of juxtaposition of color, because he was really an artist, and you know, the composition and the color was incredibly important to him. And he was also very excited about the art of making film. And just a quick story, I went to visit him when he was just starting to shoot Eyes Wide Shut. And I had dropped the kids off at school and I went to visit him on location, and he was in his trailer looking at the previous day's rushes. And it was the party sequence where Nicole Kidman is leaning against the bar with her glass of champagne, and there's all the Christmas lights. And the set was only lit by Christmas lights. There were no film lights. And it was on the Steenbeck, and he said, come here and have a look at this, come here. And he said, look at it, doesn't it look beautiful? Isn't it lush and grainy? And he said he pushed the film in the lab, and so it had this wonderful texture. And he was all excited. And he never lost that. He said, doesn't it look great? And he was excited. He loved doing it. What can I tell you?